365, day after we heard from both the head coach and the general manager after the disappointing slash crushing loss against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And yeah, Howie Roseman looked crushed yesterday. He really did.
He really
Because
did. He
you
really,
know
really
him,
did.
you have noted here, as have I, that Howie actually features himself as a bit of a jokester, a comedian. He thinks
There were no jokes. Yeah.
he thinks he's funnier than he actually is. And nary an attempt at a joke yesterday. Not even a smile out of Howie yesterday. He was all business and all almost dour business, as a matter of fact. I'm okay with that. And I would think most Eagle fans are okay with that because, again, we get our basis of what we think the fan base is feeling and thinking and the like here on our stream on Birds 365. Appreciate all you guys who do stream in during the show. I do on my phone lines on WIP, through our social media and the like. It seems like Eagle Nation is having a tough time getting over this one. Seems like their general manager is having a tough time getting over this one. And as you noted earlier, Nick Sirianni has to be the optimistic guy that he is. And he was surely the optimistic of the two sitting up there on the stage yesterday. He looks like he's already gotten to a point of acceptance. I think Eagle fans will actually appreciate the way Howie Roseman seemed to still be in
Yeah.
pain over
Well,
that loss yesterday, John.
well, they're fickle. They like Howie now, but it's not too long ago where he was, Jonathan Gannon level of hate. So he knows, better than most, um, how difficult it's going to be to replicate this performance, to be honest. And I've been talking about it for a while. This was a golden opportunity. I still say they were the better team. You and I disagree a little bit on that. I still say they were the better team than Kansas City. And that to me makes it more, from a personal standpoint, that to me makes it more disappointing because I think they were the better team. Um, and they didn't find a way to win the game. And they, you know, 24-14. I forget. I saw it somewhere. You might have seen it. There have not been many teams, Atlanta being the obvious one, that have had that kind of lead going into the second half
They're
and
the only
lost
team.
Super Bowls.
The
Oh,
Super
they're the
Bowl,
only team, was it?
yeah, there's been one team, now two, that have blown a 10-point or more lead in after halftime.
Yeah.
Eagles are only the
So
second one.
I mean, that it was all, and they dominated that first half. I think that got lost in the sauce because the second half was so poor. Everyone's like, they're terrible, they're terrible. They dominated the first half of that game to the point, I freely admit, I thought the game was over. I said, well, Kansas City can't compete with this team. That's where I was at halftime. I thought it was over. Um, it was a golden opportunity and they didn't cash in. And I think that explains the, whether you want to call it depression or, you know, whatever you want to call Howie's mood. I think that's his belief.
Yeah, I'm more of a results based guy. When the game's been played, unless there was some unbelievable lucky bounce, the teams play for 60 minutes, one beats the other, then I can't come out and go, yeah, but the team that lost was better. No, if you play the
Happens all
game
the
and
time, Jody. Happens all the time. We talked about that earlier in the week. There's, clear. I mean, there's obvious ones like the Patriots losing to the Giants, more obvious ones, but upsets happen every week. I did, but because I was very interested.
yeah, but the Eagles were a point and a half favorite, John.
No, I know it's much
To call
closer.
this
I said
an
there's more.
upset would be a little bit of a stretch.
I said there's more obvious ones. There's more, and that's why I bring up the Patriots all the time, which is pretty obvious that they were a better team than the Giants. One game they weren't, and that's the only game that mattered. So I was very interested to go to the PFF grades. Not that they're the be all end all, but I thought that they were going to grade the Eagles better than the Chiefs in the game, and they did. So they looked at the film, they looked at each individual play, and they graded the Eagles higher throughout, up and down, both sides of the football. Obviously, Jalen Hurts played a tremendous game. Jalen Hurts had the highest grade. You were talking to Brad Spielberger. You told me that. I didn't know that. Had the highest grade in Super Bowl history. Now, they've only been doing it
for rating.
Yeah,
yes.
They've only been doing it for how long? Oh, I thought you meant the Pro Football Focus grade.
No, the Pro Football Focus, but I'm saying just purely from a passer standpoint, because that takes the fumble out of the equation.
Gotcha.
I got to tell you. That's what I'm getting at, John. If you're going to use Pro Football Focus, you're not factoring in a fumble, pickup, scoop, and score. That's just one
factor that in.
But it had a massive effect on the outcome of the game. I'm guessing Kansas City. I have not looked at the ratings and rankings the way you have. Kansas City won the special teams matchup between the two, right? Well, 65-yard punt return immediately to a touchdown is bigger than just one play.
No, look, the game, they lost the game. I mean, there's no debate over that. The Kansas City Chiefs are the world champions. I mean, I'm not debating that. I'm saying that I'm trying to look at him. 76.7 was the overall film grade for the Eagles. 70.5 for the Chiefs. So you have the 13 different categories. Offensively, obviously, not obviously, because the Chiefs were pretty good in the second half. Offensively, the Eagles got an 81.2. Chiefs got a 75.9. Passing, Jalen Hurts had the phenomenal game, 92.9. 92.9. Passing, 80.8 for the Chiefs. Pass blocking, Eagles much better. Receiving, Eagles were better. Running, Chiefs were obviously better. Run blocking was close, but the Chiefs were better. Defensively, obviously, the Chiefs were better, but just barely. Both teams were terrible. 60.9, 59.7 for the Eagles. Run defense, the Eagles were somehow better, which was probably the one you can disagree with the most. Tackling, the Eagles were better. Pass rushing, 64.1 to 53.7. The Chiefs won that. And think about that score. That's a disastrous, not score, film grade. That is a disastrous film grade for what had been the best pass rushing team in the NFL.
Correct.
And obviously special teams, the Chiefs were better. They were the better team. I'm just saying that's my belief. Obviously, that's my belief. That's certainly Howie Roseman's belief. That's the belief in the NovaCare complex. Now, the Chiefs won the football game, but I'm saying that is why I think you see the incredible angst about the missed opportunity, because they believe, and I agree with them. I freely admit that they were the better football team, but they didn't win the game.
Right, and that's kind of the only thing that matters. You can throw your fist up and go, hey, we believe we were the better football team. We're not having a parade, but we believe we're the better football. Who the hell cares? What does that get you?
That's fair. Now that's
20 more minutes of sleep at night. That's not fair. Cut it.
That's fair. But I'm saying, if coaches are looking at the film and saying, Jesus Christ, we did this better. We did this better. We did this better. And we didn't win the football game. That drives you nuts.
Understood. But reverting back to the head coach, and he said it again yesterday in talking about if they were to go in a different direction with the defensive coordinator, core philosophies, core beliefs, turnovers, big plays. Those are the two things Nick Sirianni holds near and dear to his heart: turnovers and big plays. Two massive ones in a game, and they both went against the Eagles. The Jalen Hurts fumble, the 65-yard punt return. Now, punt return isn't quote unquote a chunk offensive play, but it's a chunk play. It's
No,
a
it's
huge
yeah.
play. And they blew
That's the
both of those.
longest
So they
play
can't be too shocked that they lost the game when the two biggest plays both blew up in their face.
No, they're not. I mean, if he said it once, he said it 20 times this year. Between Nick Sirianni, add in Jonathan Gannon, and Shane Steichen, for people paying attention, they say it all the time. Turnovers, explosive plays. You win those two battles, you win the football game. They lost the turnover battle. They won the explosive play battle, but it doesn't matter because it was even enough. You know, as I said yesterday on the show, if I gave everybody watching this show right now, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 182 yards. His longest pass play is going to be 22 yards. Every single one of them would have taken that. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them would have taken that. But they didn't win both categories. I mean, and the worst part is, you know, Jalen Hurts was 16-1 as a starter coming into that game. He played his best game of the year. And I'm not exaggerating.
No.
He was unbelievable. And he had the one turnover. And he had the one turn, which is so uncharacteristic. He's taking care of the football so well this season. And it's not only a turnover, it's 6 going the other way. It's a disaster. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes he plays at that level. He never turns the football over. And I'm exaggerating. Obviously, he had 6 interceptions. That was his third fumble.
Yeah, you need to put the word only in front of 6.
Yeah.
Only 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
All season
well, that's
long,
what I'm saying. How well he's taking care of the football game. How well he's taking care of the football, and he's playing his best football ever. And you have that one play. I understand why Howie Roseman is depressed. Is all I'm trying to say.
All right, so then I put this question to you, and if Howie were on the line, I'd put it to him as well, as depressed as he might have been yesterday. Super Bowl window closed?
No, because you know, you still have a very young quarterback who's playing at an extremely high level and should only get better. You know, we talk about his ceiling. There's no reason to think he can't get better. I will say it's going to be more difficult. You're not going to have a season like you had this year. That ain't happening. Where you're the best team in football almost from start to finish. Where you're 16-1 when the starting quarterback is on the field. When you have a top 5 offense, a top 5 defense, that ain't happening again. 70 sacks, that ain't happening. You got to go about it a different way, but they're in the conversation of being one of the best teams. It's just going to be more difficult.
I agree with you there because some who are subscribing to the theory that you're subscribing, oh, we had it. It was there. It was a taken. We were the better team. All those angles to look at it. And then you don't. Well, then it fritters away. That you missed out on your opportunity to win a championship. I don't believe their window's closed at all. As long as you've got your good young head coach in place, what they do, your good young quarterback in place that you do, a significant chunk of your offensive line. Now, here's where it's going to be a key. Is Jason Kelce coming back? I'm a big Isaac Seumalo fan. I'm going to be bummed when he leaves. I think that you're right. We've been saying here, somebody's going to pay him. Somebody's going to pay him big bucks. Probably more than the Eagles are going to be able to afford to with all the other roster moves they have to make. They're probably going to go elsewhere. I think we'll find out a little bit. Sometimes, as good as Stoutland is, and I'm as big a Stoutland guy as anybody else, Stoutland University, the whole plug and play thing, good luck getting somebody as good as Isaac Seumalo. They might get close, but I don't think they're going to be able to just replace him. You better hope that Jason Kelce comes back. Because if Juergens is going to be your guy, and you're going to play him either at right guard and or center, he can't play both. And if you're dropping down another notch to replace Isaac because Jurgens has got to stay at center because Kelsey decides to walk away, then I think that could be pretty significant. That could
Well,
be here's
where one thing Jason's not going to leave the Eagles wondering. He's going to let them know what it is so they can plan if he's coming back. If he's not coming back, they're probably going to re-sign Isaac. They're going to have the money to re-sign Isaac if Jason Kelsey comes back, doesn't come back. So in that instance, I don't think you're going to have to replace both. I think, Cam's going to either play center or he's going to play right guard next year. I don't think you're going to have to replace both because Jason Kelsey will let them know so they can plan. And if he's not coming back, I think they'll re-sign Isaac. Okay. If he is coming back, I don't think they can re-sign Isaac. It's too much.
That makes a lot of sense, and I hope you're right on that. But let me ask you a question. If they prioritize, and again, this is my speculation, nobody else's. Well, I shouldn't say nobody else's. Some people I've seen and or heard get on the record and say he's the number one priority. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is the guy that they're going to, after Jalen, of course, in a contract suspension. That's not a free agent. That's just a contract that needs to get done. I would think that Chauncey is the guy that they would put on the top of their priority list to get re-signed. Number two for me would either be Isaac or Bradbury. If they need to re-sign, they can only re-sign one of the two. Which one do you think they'd prioritize?
Boy, I don't
assuming
Kelsey gets back.
Yes.
Assuming Kelsey's back, I would think Bradbury, but I don't think they're getting either. I don't think Bradbury's coming back. I don't think Isaac's coming back if Jason is playing. And Howie, that I go back to Howie admitted one of the things for people paying attention. Oh, we're going to have some comp picks because he knows certain guys are he can't do it, and Bradbury's going to get a big chunk of money.
And whenever anybody mentions comp picks, who do you immediately think of?
Oh, that's Jimmy Kempski.
Jimmy Kempski, Mr. Comp Pick himself.
It's going to be a big offseason.
I was in the car driving at the time, and he said, "We're going to have comp picks." Boom! Yeah. I immediately thought of Jimmy Kempski.
Yeah, that's Jimmy's brand, comp picks.
It sure is. And we'll get Kempski up next week. He owes us. We'll get him up next week. I'll tell you who's coming up next. Our buddy Les Bowen, longtime Eagles beat reporter, as we continue to talk about almost a week now of Eagle pain after loss in the Super Bowl. We haven't had Les on to give us his thought on why the Eagles didn't walk away with a